So the last we did was the 25th verse. The worshippers of the devas. The devas here refers to the senses, goes to the devas. The worshippers of the ancestors go to ancestors. The worshippers of the elements go to elements, and those who worship me come to me. So three types of worshippers who are worshipping material ends, and one is the fourth. He says, those who worship me come to me. So those who worship the senses go to the senses. You worship the devas, you go to the devas. You worship the ancestors, you go to ancestors. The worshippers of the elements go to the elements. Those who worship the self come to me. So what he is trying to establish in this mantra is the law of attachment. The law of attachment is, as you think, so you become. Whatever your thoughts, whatever your resources are invested in, you end up becoming it. So what we gather from this verse is, anyway you're investing your energy, anyway you're investing your thought, your time, your resources, all if you can invest it by giving it a different direction. If I invest my thoughts in the senses, I get to the senses. I invest in the elements, I go to the elements. I invest in the ancestors, he says, I go to the ancestors. But if only I'm able to entertain the thought of the self. So the problem is here is not the becoming. Anyway you become. The problem is our inability to entertain the thought of the self. I think one of the sessions I did mention, it is, if you are able to entertain the thought of the self, which is to say, I am that. So even to entertain the thought of the self, you must have the capacity. It's like if an employee comes and says, I'm looking for a job, and I have looked into the newspapers where there are many offers of jobs, and I'm a little confused. I want your help. He says, I see many portfolios for a clerical job, many openings for a managerial job, and I see 2-3 openings for a CEO job. I'm a little confused. Where do I apply it? I want a job. I don't know where to apply. If somebody asks you that question, without a doubt, without thinking twice, you will say, undeniably, you should apply for a clerical job. Because if there is any doubt, you will not ask that question. If a fellow who is of a caliber of a manager, he says, I am fit to be a manager. There is no question of being a clerical, nor am I qualified to be a CEO. And a fellow who is of a caliber of a CEO, he will not think like a clerk or a manager. No questions asked. The fact that he has a doubt, it means he's of the lowest order. You deduct, you conclude that way. For that, it's not rocket science. Now, when we have these options, so the question is, what are you worshipping? Are you worshipping the senses? Are you worshipping your ancestors? Are you worshipping the elements? Or are you worshipping the self? To worship the self, and the senses, you have to put the same effort. But the problem is your inability to think of the self. You're not of the caliber that I can think of the higher self. Because the law is the same. The law is, as you think, so you become. The law of attachment. Whatever you're investing your mental thoughts and energies and resources, you become it. Effortlessly you become it. The question is the direction that matters. And even to give that kind of elevated thoughts, elevation to your thoughts, to elevate it as much as to the self, that in itself makes you of a different kind, not degree, sir. If any one of us can say, I am attempting to realize myself, it puts you in a different league altogether, different kind. Rest of humanity is of a different degree. That the very attempt itself is, oh my God, this fellow is of a different. I'll just tell you how it relates to everything. This was a couple of years ago. I was with Vijaya, we were buying some fruits off road. On a footpath, there were fruits that we pulled over, and there's a guy who comes on a cycle with his cycling gear. And the moment I looked at him, instantly there was a connection because I also cycle. So much so I went this morning for a 50K cycling. I did my cycling and came. So I can relate to and he was in his gear and the cycle I can relate to. And just naturally I greeted and said, hi, how long have you gone for your cycling? Oh, today I did 150K. Immediately all the gas in me had deflated. This was 2 years ago. I was just new to cycling and I have not done more than 20, 30, 40 at max. So when he said, I have done 150, it puts him a different league altogether. Isn't it? I am an amateur, he's sorts of a professional. As a professional, he is able to achieve a certain benchmark. And the satisfaction I got when I did my 100K ride. When I did my 100K, I know, I also can do it. So what difference is between a person who hasn't done it and who done it? Just a mindset. It's just a mindset. So I'm not trying to impress anyone here. I'm only trying to tell it is not difficult to think big. It is said it is as easy to think big as it is to think small. I repeat, it is as easy to think big as it is as easy to think small. Can you dare to think big? And in the context of thinking big in this classroom, we are talking about thinking of the highest goal of self-realization, which means I must be able to conceive that goal. I must be able to do the necessary to get to that goal. I may be far from it, but what holds me back from saying one day I'll do it? So that day when I saw that man saying 150, I said, in my own mind, I said, I'll do it one day. I didn't have to announce it, and it did. It inspired me. I said, why not? There's no, and after a while, it's just a matter of endurance, sir. It is endurance. That's all that matters. Sir, too complex for us, sir. Please tell in a language we understand.
What you told in English, I just told in
We have, not that as masters at that, but what does it literally mean?
yes, whatever you see, that you do. That's all.
Sanjay, you followed? Sorry, we are dealing with systems under repair, but we wanted to make it happen. The gentleman here said,
yeah,
you heard him?
No, I didn't hear the comment from the audience.
Louduga Japan, sir.
Yet bhavam tat bhavati.
Yet bhavam tat bhavati. In Sanskrit, it only means whatever you think, so you become. Correct? And all of us have become whatever you are is because at some point you thought of it. At some point you had a thought in your mind. And having given some food to that thought, it fructifies into what you are today. So if I can get into a thought and intensify that thought, the purity of thought itself is so grand that it will pave its way for it to fructify. What you need to do is honestly plant that thought. The thought is the seed of everything. If I plant that seed and do my part and surrender to nature, nature will take its course. All I need to do is plant that thought. And all that we are doing here, all the association with these great textbooks, these masters or gurus, is only to help us to elevate our thought to the highest thought. And if we can do that part of just imbibing that thought, sankalpa is just that sankalpa. But if you have that sankalpa, everything will happen. In fact, you know how the, yes sir, correct. But it all starts with sankalpa. As I said, you plant the seed and nurture a little bit. You give little manure, you give it little water, adequate water every day. That's all. Come 10 days. In fact, we went Vanabhojanam. We went for an outing, outing for a lunch. We all went. And one lady there, the host, in fact, she was showing off a beautiful tree, which the flowers bloom, and the flower morning is one color, afternoon one color, evening one color. As we were leaving, she was showing, and she said, I actually bought this plant as just, I broke the twig and I bought it, planted it. It took 2 years for me to grow, and now it's beautiful. It will grow. Yes, it will grow. And she broke and gave few twigs. And you go out down that twig which was planted. Small sticks, we put it. Now it's 6 leaves have come. It's come. What I did, I just planted it, ensured it in the right place, gave it little, nurtured it. It will soon blossom. Let time take its course thereafter. All I need to do is just have faith in it and plant it. So all I'm saying is plant the thought of moksha in your head. And the nurturing is every morning you nurture the thought. Pratasmarami. Early morning you nurture the thought. You feed the thought through swadhyaya, through self-study, through manana, through reflection, through jnana yajna. You do it. That thought will, shall, has to fructify into reality. If not this Janma, next Janma, it will not leave you. That thought will haunt you. You will be born with that thought to fulfill it. This Janma, the thought may not be so powerful to override other thoughts. It may be in a maze of many thoughts. It may be amalgamated. It may lose its intensity because there are so many other vasanas that are drawing you outward or distracted you already. But if I can do enough to it, the next Janma, it will have enough vigor and force and energy. The only thing that will not die is this thought. But if you, so you have to have faith in the law, that as you think, so you become. If I can think of moksha, moksha, moksha. I told you this story and parable. There was this cowherd boy whose job was to take cattle to graze into the woods. And once the cattle have left to themselves, this fellow is jobless. What to do? What will the cowherd boy do? Nothing else. So he'll be playing with the sticks here, and he'll just rest until the cattle are ready. By the late afternoon, the cattle are done, and they're also done chewing the cud. So they are ready to go back home. He will draw them back. And there's no specific pasture. He just goes into the woods. And one day he went little deep into the woods, into an unknown territory, and he was exploring. And he saw a man sitting under a tree all by himself. So he became very curious. That drew his attention. And he started sitting at his feet and admiring this man. And he was very deep, meditating in his solitude. And in the process, this boy sneezed. He sneezed. The moment he sneezed, the Swami opened his eyes because he didn't expect any audience. And the moment he saw somebody there, said, he could identify this cowherd boy. He could hear the distance, the cattle, the bells of the cattle. So he could identify. And before the Swami could say anything, this boy got into a conversation with him. He said, Swami, what are you doing? He said, I'm meditating. I'm doing dhyana. Innocently, he said, I also want to do dhyana. I also want to meditate. Oh, you want to meditate? Then the Swami said, okay, what you just do is keep muttering the word buffalo. That is meditation for you. That's all, Swami. Yes, keep muttering the word buffalo. So devoted they were. Those people who came, they were so touched by the devotion. Like that, this boy also was so devoted, he took blessings, he offered his prayers and he left. And he diligently kept following what he had all the time in the world with him, nothing to do. So what he did, kept on chanting the word buffalo. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. That was his prayer throughout. And the story goes, very soon thereafter, he actually attained moksha. That boy attained moksha. The Swami was still struggling. Now, this is a story trying to drive home a point. Now, what do you learn from this? Let me get those online. If I ask Ramji, Ramji will shower us with all the wisdom. We'll have to hold on. Ramji, please hold on, sir. Haresh, firstly, can I ask, not that you don't have any wisdom, don't get any wrong conclusions. Anything I say, it will be misconstrued,
Guruji, the point is
Are you able
we
to hear?
should.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guruji, the point is we should have a single focus towards that goal and don't waver and keep steering to that path. And eventually we will reach. So we have to have a single focused goal towards that, towards achieving moksha.
Single pointed thought. In fact, you got to bring in the principle of the 22nd verse. The famous verse that we refer to. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Ananya chinta, as long as you make that thought ananya, means the consistency of purpose gets into a thought, you will get the fruit. Invariably, you'll get the fruit. But what else you draw from this seemingly innocuous example?
That the boy in the story had no other distractions or other thoughts of the world. He was just, his mind was available towards that goal. He was not conceived with many other thoughts. Because he had the time in the afternoons to focus on himself. So he was able to focus on that, having the time and the availability of the space in his mind to focus on that.
Okay.
Which most of us don't have the time. We are all over the place and we're all scattered. So we need to align our thoughts from multiple ways more to a singular way.
Yes, okay, absolutely right. Okay, great. Thanks, Harish. Sanjay, any idea? What did you gather? What do you gather from the story?
The the other message would also be that even one needs that initial faith that the advice that I've been given by the guru will give me the goal that I seek. So maybe he didn't even understand, why do I have to chant buffalo, buffalo, buffalo? But he was told, chant buffalo, 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 and he did it. And he did it with sincerity. And that's what took him to his goal.
Faith in me, Sanjay?
Have faith in the guru, yes.
Would you do what I tell you to do?
Yes.
No,
Guruji,
I don't think you paused for 1 second longer. That boy did not pause even for that few seconds.
it was a positive point to say.
I don't agree with you. No, it's a fail. I will not give my mantra to you. Dismissed. No, Sethuramanji wants to give a mantra to you. So if not, I don't give, many other gurus here will give mantras to you. Absolutely. So in fact, what perhaps you can gather is, irrespective of what thought, it doesn't matter what thought. If you have the ability in you to hold on to that thought until it replaces every other thought. In fact, what is meditation? Is a thought should displace or replace every other thought, and you maintain that thought. So it's replacing one with the rest. And once you maintain that, if you hold on till the very end, you'll attain union. That's not the problem. The problem we have is many thoughts. That's the problem. Yes, sir.
Scientifically proven that any thought, whatever had happened earlier, you think about it, or anything that may not happen in future, think about it. The dissipation of energy is the same. There is no difference.
Of what?
Any thought what you had that has happened earlier,
Okay.
you think about it, or which may not happen in future, you think about it. The dissipation of energy is the same. Instead, why don't you hold on to better thought or good thought? It's scientifically proven. There is no difference. The one which has happened, which may not happen, they have the same energy.
Sir, science is still evolving, sir. What scientific proven? Vedanta has said it. Adi porum nammalku. If Vedanta says it, these masters have said it, that's enough. We don't need science to endorse it. Let science is still crawling. Science is still crawling in compared to this Vedantic wisdom. We don't have to come and endorse something to us. But I agree with you. Any thought that you invest time in, it consumes the same, it saps the same energy. Right. So just to quickly reiterate what do these terms devas mean? So one who worships the devas, he says, go to the devas. Now what does that mean? Devas refers to senses. So those who worship the senses are seeking sensual pleasures, who are constantly indulging in the sense gratification, and they are merely content with that. Means all they seek is giving sight to eyes, smell to nose, taste to touch, etc. You just want to give to those respective senses and sense perceptions. So they go to the senses. Gayatri Ma, you come out, Gayatri Ma, or send out Harish ji. Please send him out. He is not required there. What is he doing there? He is distracting you actually. You please concentrate in satsang. Please send Harish ji out. In fact, that room is only meant for technical people. Non-technical people, what is he doing there?
Should I unmute, Guruji?
Huh? No, you stay there. Send Harishji outside. He manages the technical people. May God be with you, Gayatri Ma. Our prayers are with you. So, if I'm not wrong, remember last when we did this verse, I asked a question around this. Wasn't it? What's the question, Rajima? Question, answer, question. Gama, question enna? She forgot to put the question in takeaways. You got Vasantama? Correct. The question was, how does one sustain any joy you derive from sense contact? Because the general experience is any sense contact, when it is sustained, means when you maintain a repeated contact, the joy depletes, decreases, comes to a point of zero, which is the law of neutralization. You get neutralized means there's no maja in it. You don't get the kick in that language. So the joy doesn't get. So the question is, how do you sustain any joy from any sense contact? It's like if you get the drive kick. When you first drove your car, what was your first experience driving a car? Maja, isn't it? Do you get the same kick every time? The law of diminishing value, the law of neutralization kicks in. So it comes to zero. There's no wow at all. So the question is, how do you sustain that joy? In fact, not only we are getting neutralized to external objects, external beings, even relationship, there's no joy. So the joy you derive in each other's company is no more. Neutralized. In fact, a point comes where it becomes sickening. You get sick and tired of the person. In fact, the answer which Shakespeare gives in his own words, I'll say that, but I'll not explain the answer. Shakespeare says, Venkatji, have you heard this phrase? In that Hamlet, he says, be familiar, but by no means vulgar. Be familiar, but by no means vulgar. Be thou familiar. You must be familiar with everybody, but not vulgar. The moment you become too close to somebody, it becomes vulgarity. Be familiar. I don't want to explain. Adila answer. So he says, relating with people, be familiar, but by no means vulgar. You must maintain that limit, some distance, whatever it is. Then the relationship is always afresh. Even people with whom you are most familiar with. The most familiar people in your own home, you must have that distance. Otherwise, it becomes vulgar. Means it loses its charm. That's what he means. He puts it in his own poetic way. It doesn't necessarily mean a physical relationship here. He's telling in terms of the relationship becomes stale. Otherwise, there's no charm.
Like giving space to each one, which is what is told to all of us. Space.
You give space, correct.
And then don't overindulge in anything. If you overindulge, then...
What is overindulgence here?
Not here. Any of those things which you like, the law of diminishing utility or whatever you put, if you start overindulging in this, then obviously you will get sick and tired of that. I mean, either eating or, any of your sports. I mean, a balance has to be maintained so that you still derive that joy.
Don't run every day, especially Sunday mornings, and be at the satsang here.
No, only...
It applies to running also.
But weekly once also, if you don't run, then there is no point.
I don't know. That weekly running only Sunday you want to do. That is not agreeable. We don't accept that. All that we don't accept it. Please don't. You are justifying the concept to suit yourself. It is not accepted. No, we don't accept all that. Now, sir, my only clarification is indulgence is indulgence. What is overindulgence there? No, it's the use of term. By the way, but can you answer the question? How do you sustain the joy you derive from any sense contact?
No, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. If you overindulge in anything and if you do excess of it, then you can't sustain the joy because then you lose.
Sir, you're telling us what not to do. Tell us what to do, no?
No, don't overindulge and then do everything in appropriate doses.
Grammatical correction he has made and he is maintaining a stance. Huh?
I mean, that is what I could understand at least. But anyway, I mean, you can give a spiritual context to it, but general, this thing I'm saying in a general way.
Your so spiritual also is the same, but I get to what you're saying. Your answer is right. Right. Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Let's not. Why you have to redefine joy?
Joy to senses is not going to sustain as per your experience. Is that the real joy? You have to
Huh?
question yourself.
Sorry, sir. You need to.
Question. You ask the question, how to sustain the joy through senses. But over a period of experience, the joy always is getting depleted.
Correct.
When it is getting depleted, then you should redefine the joy, whether is it a real joy which you are.
No, it is not real joy. The real joy is not in the senses.
The joy through the senses.
No. What we are saying is, okay, you can say there's a pleasure. Today, half the thing is there, half the thing is not there. Sorry, sir. We need to be overload of work. One person does is what happens. Thank you, ma'am. Adu eppadi on ponunga. Touch and that. Okay, sorry.
Basically, what I'm trying to say is when joy is no more enjoyable, therefore, the question of joy doesn't have a meaning.
No, sir. You are changing the criteria of the question itself. No, because something.
Have that joy. No, it cannot be two senses when you are unable, because over a period of our experiences, I'm sure everyone, when going to the experience, like what Sir also told, that yes, when you buy a car, first day there is a joy, but is that the real joy?
No, sir. That's what I thought I got you correctly. We are not saying this is the real joy. I'm only trying to explain the concept of senses. You worship the senses, you go to the senses. Now I'm trying to relate to our experiences that when we worship the senses, we end up getting neutralized and we lose, the object loses its charm for us. Whether is that the real source of joy? We are not saying that's the source of joy. The real source of joy is within. It's not in the outer world of objects and beings. But yet, if something has a certain attribute, you had a certain enchantment or charm to a certain object, why is it that that object doesn't enchant you anymore? Considering you have not changed, you still have an interest in the object. If my interest has changed, then the question doesn't arise. My desire has changed, sir. I have no more interest in it. Then there's no question of you finding joy in it. But everything remains. The
joy, yes, you get joy through senses, there's no doubt. But when you question saying that, how do you sustain the joy achieved through the senses?
How do you sustain? That's the question.
So I'm saying,
Sir, okay. Why are you not able to sustain? You're not able to sustain because there's a wrong relationship between you and the object. That's what we're trying to say. There are two things, isn't it? That is you and the object. So it is you plus either the object or the B, there is, you lose. Correct? RM? For a moment, I only thought of you. You lose your charm or the joy you derive from that experience. I'm talking from a normal, the same term joy can be spoken from an absolute standpoint. I'm not talking from an absolute standpoint. I'm talking from a very practical layman standpoint. You get it? So the question is, you're not able to sustain, you lose the charm for the object. Now first tell me, Setuji, I know you want to say something. Tell me, why do you lose the charm?
Because you are indulging, you give an adequate gap, space, then you will retain.
So
You have told it.
correct. We have mentioned this many a time, or we have spelled it out clearly. That's the reason he's spot on. The reason this happens is, in fact, the law of neutralization and diminishing value. So, me pay, sir, sorry. Ravi Garu. These two, the law of neutralization, diminishing value, comes to the joy factor where it depletes is because these two laws are kicking in. Now, what we are trying to analyze is, why does this law kick in? We are analyzing something which is happening rationally in your life. Why it happens is, as Setuji said, because of what we call as an indiscriminate contact. When you keep contacting with an object or being indiscriminately, which is nothing but indulgence. So indulgence is nothing but a reckless, licentious, indiscriminate contact with sense object. That kind of a reckless, indisciplined, licentious contact with sense object, you get into a law of neutralization where you lose the charm. So now if you have, so what does this mean? A simple diagram that we say.
Can I ask questions?
Indulgence
means attachment.
No.
Then what's the difference between them?
Indulgence is, as I've said, indulgence. The question Ravi Garu is asking is indulgent attachment? Indulgence is not attachment. Indulgence is where you contact an object based on the mind. When your mind draws you to any contact without the intellect is indulgence. And when you indulge in anything, that means when your mind contacts any object or being, then you develop attachment. So indulgence is the cause, attachment is the effect. Indulgence is not attachment. One is the cause, other is the effect. They're two different things.
Impulsive behavior.
Impulsive is different. You get this, you get to that because of my mind operating. Now,
Little more negative environment is indulgence.
no, sir, you can be indulging in television also. You can be indulging in anything, good or bad. But indulgence is a negative connotation. When you, in layman's term, when you overdo something, as Venkatji said, no space. You don't give yourself space to it.
Addiction.
There is no
Addiction.
in fact, it's addiction. When you get addicted, that's when you become a slave.
You are driven to.
Okay, so imagine this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. And this is, I also put number here, okay? Okay, let's say 10, 20, 30, 100. So at the first contact, you will have 100 units of pleasure. When you contact the same object, you will get 90 units of pleasure. The fourth contact, you will get 70 units of pleasure. And go on, go on, go on. At the 10th contact, you'll have 0 units of pleasure. This is the staggering concept of law of neutralization. Same object, same person, same desire, nothing has changed. The object has no charm for you.
Yes, Guruji, but again, a new object starts in the mind. There is one more curve starts.
That simultaneously, this is being repeated to many objects. So what you are doing very professionally is you're picking up things in life and get neutralized, and life becomes boring. So you have to do something out of the ordinary to get joy. What are you getting rid? Nothing is getting rid.
Replace.
What replace? You're sick and tired of one thing, you're picking up something else. Nothing is being replaced. The desire, end of it, what happens? At unit 1, let's say your desire, if your desire has got 50 units of strength, all right, at this contact, it will add 50 units of strength. As you travel the journey of indiscriminate contact, at the 10th contact, the desire has become 200 units of strength. You think you have exhausted the desire? No. Indulgence actually is like feeding logs of wood to fire. It actually feeds the desire. Because only mind is operating, there's no intellect. No, it's not that you're uprooting the desire. You're actually feeding into whatever your desire wants. You keep giving into it. The desire, the mind gets enraged. The flame gets inflamed. Your addiction is what? Addiction is as if you are free from the desire. In fact, you become, in fact, at this point is perhaps addiction.
Sir, I'm having some contradiction here.
1 minute, sir. When you get addicted, you become a slave. At this point, you're free to choose actually. You could choose not to go, but you chose to get into it. You maintained a wrong contact. What is wrong contact? As we said earlier, the wrong contact is indiscriminate contact. So if you maintain this indiscriminate contact, indulging, the law of neutralization, diminishing value will come where there is no joy. In fact, the worst is when you get to that state of neutralization, you're still contacting, right? You contact for what? When you contact, there is no pleasure. Are you all with me?
Yes.
No pleasure is a 10th experience. At the 10th experience, there is no joy, correct? You still contact, though there is no pleasure. If you avoid contact, displeasure. So with it, there is no joy. Without it, there is sorrow. This is 100% neutralization.
Happens to alcoholic.
Sir, it's happening to you right now. It's happening to you right now. You have got neutralized to your arms. You have got neutralized to your arms. Let's say you bent now and suddenly you sprained your arm. Or you lifted something heavy, you sprained your arm. You're hurt and then you're in bandage. Doctor says for 4 days you will be in bandage. Then you know what it is not to have your arm. But do you have the joy of using your arm? No. I am neutralized to my body. I am neutralized to my things. I am neutralized to everything around me. When I don't have it, I have the pain. When I have it, there is no joy. That's what exactly it is. When you have it, there is no. Oh, sorry. So when you have it, there is no joy. When you don't have it, there is displeasure. Now I have the freedom of using my eyes. Do I enjoy using my eyes? No. Let's say I develop conjunctivitis. Infection in the eye, I can't see. Then I know what it is not to have. And when I get over the treatment and when I get back my sight, and normally I said, my God, what it is a joy just to have the normal eyesight. Just to have a normal eyesight is a joy. When you're sick, you know the value of being healthy. But when I'm healthy, I don't know what it is to have my value of being healthy. Nothing is wrong with me now. But the moment I fall sick and recover from that, I value, my God, what it is to be healthy. So this is what that is happening. We have already got neutralized to our body from our birth, from the time we start using our limbs and our tools and our physical body, we have got neutralized to it. No more joy in it. Now the worst is I'm getting on to external things and getting neutralized to them also. Chapandi.
When
Previous?
Desire is increasing from 50 to 200. And you are saying joy is becoming 0. The constant, the contradictory desire and joy also go together. That is what my feeling. See, I just want to explain
Please.
so that I get clear of my
Yes,
doubt.
yes.
Because here you say the desired units are going to 200, joy is becoming 0.
Yes.
As long as the contacts are increasing.
Correct.
Desire will increase if there is a joy in it, because when there is a wanting.
How can
Is there any wanting is because you are getting certain joy out of it. So it is a combination of that one. Yes, there is a small decrease in the joy factor, but it can never become 0. When you are saying desire has gone to 200 units, it increases it.
So the desire increases because you are feeding the desire. Desire,
but why am I feeding that desire?
because you're
Expecting the joy.
expecting.
I know that there is joy, which I want to experience. Maybe the intensity of the joy is not the same as it was before. But still, I got addicted to so-called joy. And when it is becoming 0.
Sir, do you know what people do? What people do is to get the same kind of joy. What they do is, let's say, at the 4th contact, I'm only getting 70 units. So what people tend to do is they increase the quantum. The deficit of this 30% less joy, they make it up by increase quantum. They don't realize where they're going wrong. So what at the 10th contact, what they do? then what joy you got in one contact, quantum, you will multiply it to get the same joy. A point comes where you as alcoholic, he said, I may consume a bottle of alcohol, I get no kick. I don't get any joy because I've completely neutralized it. What I would get in a peg or two, I don't get in a bottle. So the rational point what we are making here is when you indulge is a mental thing, it's not a physical thing. You got to understand that, sir. The definition of indulgence is the mind going on its own without the supervision of the intellect. The mind is participating. Sir, what the advertisement,
I'm not going by, why I'm asking this question, sir, because I'm not going by using some example in my mind. I'm getting concluded to what exactly has been told. I'm trying to see in a generalized fashion.
no, once you understand the concept, it becomes an absolute necessity. You can't do without it. You will be frustrated.
So when it becomes necessity,
Okay,
it
cooler.
results in the joy zero.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, when it becomes a necessity, do you think that joy will be zero?
Now, what do you mean a necessity? In a sense,
But when I know that it is necessary to me, the necessity factor in my mind is coming because there is something which is happening to me in that of joy.
so it's not the question of whether it's a necessity or not. What you have done to yourself is you have become a slave of the object. You have,
That is, of course, there is no doubt about that. The entire in the concept, that's what I mean, sustenance of joy. We have to redefine it that way.
no. So therefore, when do you actually sustain your joy? By reversing the process of indiscriminate contact. What is the opposite of indiscriminate contact? A measured, punctuated, spaced out between two contacts.
It's an intention,
So in effect, what
controlled way.
control? So I'm just concluding. I hope you are with me in the conclusion. So what we have said so far is reach a point of
చేతగానప్పుడు ఇన్ని డౌట్స్ ఉండొద్దు పక్కన ఒకటి డిసైడ్ చేసుకొని దాని మీద ఆగాలి.
You weren't. That is class. Why are you doing this?
So when you indulge, you reach a state of no joy. So the opposite of that is the more you abstain, the more you create an appetite for contact. The more you keep away from the object, the more you have, the more you become a master of the object. The more you have the freshness of contact, the capacity to enjoy. And the moment you contact, you're losing it. You don't agree to that, keep going back. You don't agree to that, see how the joy has been decreasing. The more you keep contacting, you lose joy. So what you need to do is, how much can you abstain from an object or being without getting frustrated? That is your limit.
But you try to abstain joy.
Abstain from object, not joy. We are saying abstinence is joy. In fact, indulgence is no joy. The moment, in fact, sir, you know what the Shastras say, Ravi Garu? The definitions of, they say indulgence is, or in fact, they say sense pleasure or sense contact. They call it as Dukkha yonayaha. The Shastras say, the Gita says, sense pleasure or sense contact is wombs of sorrow. There is no joy at all. So sense contact is sorrow, abstinence is joy. Now, then 100% abstinence, do you have the capacity? Since we don't have the capacity, at some point we give in to the desire, we run into the world and get neutralized. But a wise man, just like a tortoise, he leaves, he withdraws all its limbs and very careful under the intellect, because that abstinence gives great joy. When he wants, he'll walk out. Whenever he wants into the world, he'll go out. But all the time he's in a protective shell of his wisdom. Yes, Vap.
Neutralizing desire and abstaining from that is the equivalent in one person, whatever.
Can you come again, please?
Desire
Right.
and I utilize it and am successful in abstaining from it. And when I conclude that vasana is to.
Now, let me repeat your question to understand and for the benefit of those online. What you're asking is, if I had a vasana or a desire and I have got neutralized to it, and if I'm abstaining from that particular desire or object of desire, am I getting rid of my vasana? No. Just because you're abstaining from a particular thing doesn't necessarily conclude that you have no more vasana for it. But the first step is you gain mastery over the desire. The first step is you've got a mastery over it. I'm no more a slave. It doesn't drive me. I drive if I want. Confidence, I'm a master of that object. Time will come until when the thought gets elevated. Only when you pick up a higher vasana, that is when the lower vasana will drop. In fact, you are injecting a lot of control and wisdom here to say, I don't want to dance to the tunes of my desires or the mind. That itself is initial control. So first get the desire under control and then you sublimate it. Who is Vasanti? Can you please mute her? Who is Vasanti? Can you please mute yourself? Okay. Sorry, sir.
I'm saying once you overcome a vasana, the next time it keeps coming back, but next time it becomes a trigger for you to control. Because you've already done it. So
Once the vasana is eradicated, then you have plenty to deal with.
but again, the same desire may come back again. You come out of form. You succeed with higher vasana.
If you have, it's like I take a lawn mower and I mow the lawn, it will grow because I'm not pulled out from the root. But if you take the pain, take a sickle and go into the root of that particular weed and uproot it, that weed is dead. It will not come out unless make sure there is no residue secondary root or not. If there's a secondary residue root, then it will come from there. But you will have to ensure that the primary and the secondary root are removed. Then it will not grow. So, not sleep mode. It has to be complete destroyed mode. So that effort has to go. So that is what this wisdom does, is it goes deep into the root of the vasana and uproots it. So it is not mere superficial. That's what we are saying. It will come back if you've only done abstinence. Abstinence by itself is not going to necessarily nullify or negate the vasana. But when I said when you pick up a higher vasana and redirect your thoughts there, then this will get dried up and it'll die away. You see. But that's the process takes time, but what will rule is the fire of this wisdom. So the wisdom will find its own ways and means of eradicating the desires. So you have to just be so committed to keep acquiring the wisdom. That sadhana must continuously go on. And then it just keeps getting burnt away. And what's the beauty is, many vasanas get uprooted without you knowing of it. You don't have to know every vasana. You don't have to know what I had. That is how Sanchita gets burnt off, sir. That's how the Sanchita gets burnt out. You don't have to experience every vasana and say, oh, this is a vasana, I experienced it, now I understand the futility of it, now I get rid of it. Nothing like that. You don't have to go through that cycle of knowing the vasana, experiencing the vasana, seeing the futility in it, and then getting over it. No. You can get over it without even going through the process. It's like example, let's say if I have a desire, for a person has a desire to get married. Okay, yes, but with that desire for marriage, there are many other desires string with it. If I say I have a desire for marriage, then I say I have a desire to have a family. Then I say I must have a home. How can I can't live with my family on the streets. I must have a desire, I have home. Then if I have a home, then I have a furniture. Then I have a television, I have this, I have that. All the subsidiary desires all come along with desire for marriage. But if I uproot the desire for marriage, all the subsidiary desires which are clinging on to this so-called parent desire automatically gone. No more. You don't have that. I'm just giving an example, please. How unknown, unseen vasanas get burnt off by the power of wisdom, the fire of knowledge or the fire of wisdom. Harish, sorry, you had, I thought I saw you wanted to say something, you still have? Good, all good. Ramji, all okay, sir? Please shed some wisdom, sir.
No, sir, I think it was a long discussion and it got clarified quite a lot. And so basically, there are three levels, as I can understand what you said, that the desire gives rise to a desire followed by indiscriminate contact gives rise to intelligence, which finally leads to no joy situation and addiction in a way. And abstinence, which is a measured and calibrated contact, will lead to all joy. But that will still not get rid of your desires completely. So if you want to get rid of your desires completely, you have to uproot the desire completely and attach yourself to a higher cause. These are the 3 points which I picked up from the long discussion. I hope that is the essence.
Yes, sir, it is, it is.
But I must say that I got a lesson from my mother when I was 10 years old in this. So when she made a nice brinjal curry one day, I said, this is so nice, why don't you do it every day? So she said that brinjal curry on one day you will appreciate and you will say excellent. If I do it tomorrow, you will say it is good. If I do it day after tomorrow, you will say it's okay. Then if I do one more day, you will say it's not good. So she gave me that lesson when I was 10 years old, that only when you make that curry once in 15 days, it will taste very good. So that actually gave the lesson that a measured contact always gives you more sustained joy, sustained pleasure. Yeah.
That's why I said it's not something Ravi Garu, it's not some spiritual question. Like, as I said, you see how you relate to Bankan ka Bharta, he is relating philosophy there. Huh? Bankan ka Bharta, he is seeing philosophy there. And now only application of abstinence. Sir, is it only to Bankan ka Bharta or everything else, sir? I'll ask Ushama, UK, please tell, is it applicable to everything else or only to Bankan ka Bharta? Katrika philosophy, yeah.
Yeah, sir. That is my favorite vegetable. So then she wanted to tell me that whatever is your favorite things, you should not indulge too much in them. So that
Right.
was the lesson I got that time. But of course, Usha follows that even from day one. She doesn't repeat things so frequently.
Any endorsement, UK?
I actually wanted to, something related to this, Guruji. I wanted to clarify a doubt. What
Yeah.
about this positive indulgences, which people think they are positive, be it work related or health related, those kind of things, or be it morals related? What do you say about that?
Now, why are you asking indirect question?
No,
I can
there's
see a lot
no,
of indirect language in that.
no,
No,
I
no,
can
no, no.
appreciate
no
you.
indirect question.
I always tell her that in our marriage has lasted so long because of my travel schedules. So,
Yes, I too agree with that.
Right? No. They are not able to hear because no speaker. Ramji is saying our marriage has lasted so long because of his busy travel schedules.
I too agree with that.
Yes. No. But you were saying positive indulgence.
The society calls it positive indulgence. They don't see it as something wrong, or be it exercising or working without any this thing, or they consider it, because of that only he has achieved so much. They encourage it. They give it a positive connotation. So what about those kind of?
In fact, in other context, I tell this Japan is considered one of the suicide capitals of the world,
Yes.
and they are workaholics.
Yeah.
It's a norm to work 18-20 hours there, and they drive themselves to a point of suicide.
Yeah.
So anything, there's
In
nothing.
excess.
Indulgence itself has a negative connotation. So anything done without that moderation is going to have serious consequences.
Yeah.
Okay, broccoli is good. 1 kg broccoli for breakfast, 2 kg broccoli for lunch, 1 kg for dinner. Finish. You have Harishji likes boiled vegetable. The whole of Bandhavgarh trip, only boiled vegetable give him. Harishji,
Poor Harishji.
please show yourself to us. This whole Bandhavgarh trip to you, you'll only be eating boiled vegetables for breakfast, lunch, dinner. He was telling me, keeping the age group in mind, I have made sure that boiled vegetables are served. VAP, please make sure that doesn't happen. No, please don't rethink. You change the menu. The complete menu has to be changed. Sorry, for the benefit of those who are not aware, a few of us, I think 15, 16 of us are going to Bandhavgarh. That is, source is different. We're going to the forest reserve for the next few days. So we all are, I'm just referring to that trip which Harishji is making some master plans. Yes, we shall do so. Hariji is a different frequency, as always. His comment is, indulgence also is not good. Therefore, Shastras insist in Swadhyaya. 20% only with the Guru, 80% be with yourself. Sir, once a week you are seeing me. Once a week, 1 hour, 15 minutes, you're seeing me. Anything more you see me, you'll get sick and tired of me. Correct, Apara Garu? That's correct. That is, some of you are greater abstinence, he is only saying greater the joy. So it's a fascinating concept and how to bring it down to applicability. So you see the amount of science and logic, and it's not something which is irrational. It's pure logic. And if you can actually break up every element and you go deep into it, it still makes sense. It fits in perfectly.
In this, when we are, I was telling that we generalize it. Suppose I do dana,
Right?
giving some clothes or something directly clothes. Now, do you say that also an intention where no joy comes later? Or the moment that I abstain from it, I get full joy of it?
So we are talking of sense contacts.
In the sense, what is only contact?
No, that's what sense contacts we're saying. Senses, worshipping the senses, what sense contact? Eyes, sight, nose, smell,
So,
taste, tongue. Sense contact we're talking. But with reference to the question, what Ravi Garu is asking is, let's say if I take to an act of charity, let's say if I'm parting with dravya, material charity in some form, in material or in kind, will I be able to sustain that kind of activity or will I lose the joy in performing that act? See, when it comes to that kind of an action, if it is driven on the mind, then it becomes erratic. Then it's all mood driven. But if it is driven with an ideal, so I can't think of myself in a day where perhaps I'm not motivated to talk. This is also seva I'm doing. The highest seva, in fact. Highest service is to give jnana dan. To give Brahma Vidya is the highest service. I must be inspired and motivated to talk. Oh, maybe Guruji is in a bad mood today. It's a possible, no? What makes you think it's not possible? It's very much possible that I am not driven to speak these words. Something which I've been speaking for 30 years. How boring it must be for me. Very boring, no? But did I sound any boring to you even for a second today? I'm ready to jump out of my seat. What inspires? It is your intellect and your goal that inspires. That makes it consistent. It's emotional, then in any emotional relationship, you have moods, no? Mood swings. That's when you are off it and you get over carried away. Sometimes you do over or you don't do it at all. That kind of like a feather in a summer breeze you become. But if you're going for self-recognition or self-enrichment, means for something in return for yourself. Again, there's a motive driven. I would say it's a selfish act. It's not an unselfish act. I'm giving 10,000 rupees to a temple because they will encarve my name in the donation list. And they say you add one more zero, it will go top of the list. Why not? So rest of my life, until they remove that carving from that wall, my name will be on the top. So I'll give another zero, add to it. Instead of 10,000 rupees, I'll give a lakh rupee. Why? My name goes on top. So you're getting recognition. For recognition you're doing. Are you doing charity? It's only for inflating your own self-ego. That's what Setuji means. So any such action doesn't have longevity. It will die. But if it's inspired by a goal or a purpose, then there is the fire. The Agni is there. Okay. Saumyama, she's saying, I didn't understand the vasanas can be eradicated. How it be that I have music vasana, Because of a certain handicap, I could not continue my vasana. It is inbuilt. Now, in that context, the example you take about yourself, where you have vasana, that's your prarabdha vasana. That is your swadharma. Such vasanas don't get eradicated. They will die with you. If you are not able, since you have this handicap and you're not able to satisfy, it's possible that you will carry forward this vasana to next janma. So next janma, you will carry it forward because you, right throughout, you are entertaining this desire that I'm not able to sing, not able to sing, not able to sing. You're repenting. You really are constantly entertaining that genuine want to sing. So it is feeding the desire, no? So what would happen is when you die, the next janma, you'll be born with this vasana. So you will be again born into a family which will be conducive, which will feed this vasana for music. So swadharma or these prarabdha vasanas are the predominant nature. They don't get burnt away like this. We are talking about the self-created vasanas. Out of our unintelligent actions, you're creating many vasanas. We're talking of that. Okay.
Thank you, Ji.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Thank you.
most welcome. Yes, Setuji. Sir, it can't be that my predominant swadharma is Sanjita. You get what I'm saying? It can't be that it's like my vasana for Vedanta. Let's say tomorrow I lose my voice. I'll not be able to talk. Which is what has happened to Amma. She has lost her ability to speak. Sing, sorry. Now, how can you say this predominant swadharma in me, just 60-70% of my swadharma is this? How can you say swadharma, 70% of my current predominant nature is my sanchita? Why is it? Is because prarabdha vasanas are the vasanas which you are born with to fructify. Which means they are the most powerful of the sanchita. You're getting what I'm saying? So, if it is not powerful, you will not be born with it. It will not mind, but it will take time. So, if this is Sanjita, let's say, is 100. Out of the 100, B1, which is the birth one, is 20 vasanas. So 20 vasanas is the prarabdha vasanas. Out of the 20, let's say 12. Okay, I don't want to put vasana that way, but let's say 70% of this 20 vasanas is my swadharma, which is what I'm saying is Vedanta is my swadharma. Now you are saying this is the 80 vasanas, not the 20 vasanas. How is that possible? If it is of the 80% that's left, because if I'm born with 20, 80 is the balance. How can that Vedanta be 80? It has to fructify. The fact that it's so, what determines the 20 manifests? That which is the most urgent vasanas, they manifest. Most predominant. So if I ask you, what is the next thing you will do? Would you do something which is of least interest to you or the most interested to you? Most interest. Let's say you have a vasana, least interest to watch a movie. Long ago, you had a thought you want to watch Rajnikant movie. And somehow you came to know Rajnikant movie is released. Don't ask me, I don't think there's a Rajnikant movie released. Just example I'm saying. Now the urgent, some vasana you have, that the least important vasana will not be in your top priority. It's the last priority. So that's the reason I'm saying this cannot be sanchita. It has to be prarabdha. And if for my prarabdha is that it doesn't get fructified, so I carry it forward. So there's still some vasana that is lingering, not being able to fulfill. I carry it forward. We'll come back. We'll come back not next week, but we'll come back in a fortnight. All right? Thank you. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.